Hello. I've had several people ask me questions regarding the neck, and this makes sense because it is a common area, along with our lower back, our lumbar spine, where people experience a lot of pain or impingement, and this is due in large part to hypermobility. So, our cervical spine is not really supposed to do a whole lot of moving. You'll see a lot of people when they look up, they go like this, or when they're looking at their phone, they go like this. Okay, this is excessive movement in an area that should be mostly stable. And the same is true for our lower back. That's why one of the major emphases, not sure which word is correct, in this training program is developing mobility of our thoracic spine. So the vertebrae that are connected to our rib cage. Developing greater movement in this area of the spine reduces the amount of movement that we allow in our cervical and lumbar spine. So if you've looked at my joint articulation series, you'll notice I have one for the head and for the thoracic spine and then the spine as a whole, but not one for the neck. And that's because it's not necessary. If we learn to move our head on top of our spine instead of moving our neck so much, this will alleviate a lot of the problems that we're experiencing. So, like I demonstrated first, the looking up position, it's all here, the bottom of my neck. And as you can tell by how I'm speaking now, it restricts my airway, which is another problem. Versus if I look up with my head as much as I can, and then globally extending my spine as much as is necessary in order to see what I need to see. And the same is true for looking down. I can start at the head and then globally flex the rest of my spine as I need to. And this is the habit that we're trying to develop through, the entire training series, but through developing greater mobility of our thoracic spine. So we don't need to learn to mobilize our neck more, but we can learn to mobilize it in a more congruent way. So rather than only moving at one vertebrae or at the intersection of two vertebrae, like so, we can develop our capacity to move globally, like I mentioned. So our neck is still going into extension, but there's not a kink, a single point where it moves and then the rest of it does not move. And this is a common issue in our lumbar spine as well. We'll have one segment or a pair of segments that move way too much, and then the rest is immobile or stiff. Developing the integrity of our spine through improving the mobility of our thoracic spine via sitting. Yes, most of us probably sit a lot in our daily lives, but that is precisely why we need to train our sitting position. The better that we get at sitting, the better we can sit. And therefore, the more sustainable our daily lives become if we're spending a lot of time sitting. So I've got my elbows out in front of me like this in order to help facilitate the protraction of my scapula, which will help to allow me to breathe into my posterior rib cage more effectively. Being able to breathe into this space helps to decompress these vertebrae and therefore allow them to move. So I'm seated on my sit bones in a nice, relaxed, erect position, and I'm gently, slowly allowing my thoracic spine to go into deeper flexion. I am not curling at the midline. As you can see, there's no crease in my abdomen. My abdominal muscles are getting shorter because this space is shortening, but I'm not contracting these muscles in order to pull me down. I have to release the tension to allow my thoracic spine to flex ever so slightly. And now, using my hand to give myself feedback in this space so I know I'm not crunching, I go into deeper flexion, slowly, easily, as far as I can. Now, as you can see, with my hand removed, not crunching. Then after a big inhale, fully inflating my ribcage, I rotate only at my thoracic spine. Lumbar spine and pelvis do not rotate. And then after I've rotated as much as I can, I extend fully up my thoracic spine and then up through my neck all the way to the head, rotating around to the other side, down into flexion, and rotating back into the middle. This is a thoracic spine articulation. We've done this before, but we need to do it over and over again. Every time we do it, we are increasing the mobility of our thoracic spine. And so again, starting from the bottom, full flexion, rotating the other direction fully until I need to extend one segment at a time up through my spine to my head, rotating around the other way, back down into flexion. Open up the space, and then we don't need to move so much in our neck and lumbar spine. Good luck.